everyone, it's Sami from Sami's Sweet Life, and today we are making a sweet treat. This is a super fun one, especially for kiddos. It's dirt, and what could be better than instant pudding, Oreos, whipped cream, and gummy worms? It's a super duper easy recipe. I'm going to walk you through every step. So let's go ahead and jump into the video and I'll show you how to make this one. This is just a really simple, easy recipe. There's no baking or anything involved, but I really like making this. The kids really like it because it has gummy worms in it. So I'm going to show you what we're going to use, and then we will get started just mixing up, and then we'll be layering. That's basically all you do. You mix up things and you layer. So first up, you're going to need some whipped topping, or you can make your own stabilized whipped cream. Now I showed that in the cookie cake recipe, how to make stabilized whipped cream. You cannot use just plain old whipped cream from the cream whipper, and you can't just whip up heavy cream in a mixer and use it for this recipe. It will deflate. So you need something like this, whipped topping or stabilized whipped cream. And this comes in the freezer section. You need to actually put it in the fridge like a day ahead of time because you want it to be thawed. You don't want it to be frozen for this. Then you also need Oreos. So I went ahead and ground these up. Using a food processor, you could also use a blender for this, or you can just crush them up. I have crushed up Oreos before with just like a rolling pin, rolling them out inside of a Ziploc bag, and that also will get the job done. I just pulled out the food processor for this since it was a bunch of Oreos. And then you're going to be making instant pudding, so I just have this Jell-O. I happen to pick out the chocolate fudge, but it can be any sort of chocolatey one you want, a dark chocolate or a chocolate fudge or just plain old chocolate. And then to mix that up, it usually calls for milk, but I'm going to do half and half. I'm going to do half heavy cream and half just regular milk, whatever milk you have. For this, I just happen to have whole milk because that's what our toddler Stella drinks. So I'm going to be using 1 cup of this and 1 cup of the heavy cream. That just gives it a more like chocolate mousse type consistency because it is a little bit thicker that way. So we're going to divide it into 2 bowls when we're done. So I have 2 bowls here. So I'm going to do my mixing in the bigger bowl. This will be my serving bowl. I happen to have salsa in the other one of these. So I am going to mix it up, divide it out, and then wash this bowl out and use it as my serving dish. So for now, we are going to get our pudding made. So I am pulling out a cup scoop. It does end up taking 2 cups of milk. So I'll do 1 cup, 1 cup. And I will actually sprinkle this on the top. So I'll get my liquids going first. We will measure, and this is like at the end of this milk. So I have to pull out another one, I think. Oh yeah. Okay, I pulled out a fresh new one. I'm gonna have to be careful to not overfill it now. All right, we'll do 1 cup. And then we'll also add 1 cup of the heavy cream. Now we will add our chocolate pudding in here. And now we're just going to start mixing it up until it becomes nice and thick. It just takes a couple of minutes for it to start thickening up. So when I use the heavy whipping cream, sometimes I make just fake chocolate mousse. I probably will share that on this channel at some point, where you just use the heavy cream and the instant pudding mix. But it has a tendency to get like little clumps in it when you do it like that. So I am just going to do the best I can with mixing this up, and there will be little tiny clumps in it, but it doesn't really affect the taste or texture because we are going to be mixing in crumbled Oreos anyway. So for this recipe, it really doesn't matter. Sometimes for chocolate mousse, it does make it a little bit grainy, but for this recipe, it's perfectly fine. So I'll just mix this for a couple of minutes and speed it up so you don't have to sit here watching me mix. Okay, it's starting to thicken up, so I'll just stir it another minute or so, and then we will call it good. You'll pretty much know when it's done when it kind of holds the shape of the whisk going through it. You can see it starts kind of holding those lines. And we know it's getting close to done. Okay, so it is nice and thick. I'm going to transfer this into my 2 containers and switch to spatulas now. We're done with this guy. So we will divide this in half, just the best you can. Kind of just eyeball it. I'm going to just eyeball. And then we'll be mixing both of them. I'm going to rinse my bowl and dry it out really quick because I will be using this for our presentation. In the end, I want to be able to see the layers, so this is my glass bowl I like to use for this recipe. First, we are going to start with our whipped cream layer. We just add in like a medium-sized tub. I think it's about half of this. This is a 12 ounce. So I'm going to just kind of eyeball using half of this and mix it into half of the pudding mixture. And this is going to be our lightest colored layer. So I probably used I don't know, a third to a half of this container. And I'm gonna just fold those together. Fold it together to where you don't see a whole lot of the white streakiness. You want it to just turn very light, pale brown. So I'm scraping down the sides to make sure I get everything mixed together. And now we're gonna start our Oreo layer. So this layer is gonna be a much darker layer because of the cookie crumbs. So I actually used about 15 cookies. You're not gonna put all of it in here. You're gonna save some of it for the top. And I like a really nice thick dirt layer on the top. I've gotta be careful because my food processor hole is right there. And if I come across any like bigger pieces, I just set these aside because I don't want big giant chunks in here. So I've got about half of it in there and I'm gonna just mix this up. That's gonna go for the top. So this layer gets really nice and thick. This happens to be my favorite layer in the whole thing. It turns into a really dark, chocolatey, thick layer. So for this, you just wanna mix it until well combined. You want all the little crumbs to be mixed in so you don't have like a dry patch inside this. And here's what it looks like. This layer gets really nice and thick. And now for the layering, we're just gonna layer these inside the container the best we can. And then as you're layering, you'll start to see on the side of your glass dish that you'll see the layers of dirt, which is really cute. I think it's a really big hit for the kids. So I'm going to just start. I'm gonna actually show you a second way to make this dirt recipe. If you don't happen to have a glass dish or if you want it to look extra fancy, I have a way to kind of step up your game. So I'll show you that after this one. But this is just basically layering back and forth. You just use enough to kind of make a layer and then move on to the next layer. And since we have way more of this one, these layers tend to be thicker layers. This layer's thick, the other layer's nice and soft, so sometimes it doesn't want to spread out because of the layer underneath it. Just kind of have to work with it. All right, I'm going to do one more layer. I'm setting a little bit aside to show you guys another way to do this. So I'm going to make this be my top layer here, and then we want to add our gummy worms and Oreo crumbs. Okay, so I could have one more layer of each, but I set them aside for the next thing. So you can see the darker layers coming out through there, and it just looks like dirt. Now we're going to sprinkle these all on the top. Setting a tiny bit aside for the next dish. I like having a nice big layer of these Oreos on the top. You can see the whole top is covered there. And then we're going to add some gummy worms. So I just happen to have these sour gummy worms, but you can add whatever kind of gummy worms you like. This is actually a fun one. I ended up adding some of those little candy eggs to one of these before. So it's kind of like an egg hunt. We did that for Easter one year, and Olivia really liked that. So as long as you have gummy worms or dirt, so I'm going to tuck these guys in. I'll put some across the top. Just sprinkle them out. Okay, and there is the dish. So you can actually totally step up your game by making them in like a bigger wine glass or a hurricane glass, which is what I have here. But we used to have some like almost like margarita style glasses that were quite large that we used to make this in all the time. So you just go ahead and layer them the same way as before, just in here. And this one might be a little bit trickier because of the, you know, the skinny part on top, but we're going to do the best we can. So just kind of layer them in here. And I will get a spoon for this. And that way it really is a pretty dessert. And we'll do one last layer of this and one last layer of the other. Now I'm just going to wipe around the edges to make it look a little bit cleaner. If I was doing this and making all of the dirt in these kind of glasses, I would totally use 2 piping bags so I could just layer them really easily. But for this, I just made one, so I didn't want to pull out piping bags for that job. As far as presentation goes, I think this is a really nice way to do it because everybody gets their own individual one and it steps up the game just a little bit. So there's that version, and then there's also the big version, so it just looks like a big thing of dirt. I've seen some people make these in flower pots. I remember my mom making this for one of my birthday parties because this is what I wanted as my cake. So she made it in a big container inside of a flower pot, and it was a really cute way to do it too. You can definitely make this however you want. The basic concept is the same. You have two different style of puddings. You layer it and you put the gummy worms on top. So I hope you guys like this quick dessert. I feel like most people probably know some variation of it. I was just gonna share mine, and I have had people ask me in the past about how to make this recipe, so I wanted to share with you guys. It's just super easy, totally a Pinterest-worthy little dessert, so I hope you guys liked it. Be sure to give me a thumbs up, subscribe. I'm really trying to step up my recipe game, so I'm really trying to post one of these for you guys every week. I hope you'll stick around and subscribe, and I hope you have a great day. Thanks for watching. Bye. I'm actually going to show you another way to bang washing machines. We're having all sorts of things go on today. The washing machines have been going off. The garbage trucks are here. And there's the other one.